Portland. Today is Carla's last council session as the council clerk. And Carla, I can't tell you how much I've appreciated your leadership, your focus, your conviction, your passion as the council clerk. You've done an incredible job, and I've watched you through all circumstances. I remember shortly after I took office, we were over in the Portland building holding council sessions there because we had some work being done on our council chambers here. And as you'll recall, that was a very difficult period for the city. And there were a number of people who would routinely come over and take over the council chambers. And throughout it all, Carla maintained this just incredible sense of professionalism and calm. And she has a really good sense of humor about things. And so that was just grace under pressure, Carla. And I want to thank you and tell you how much I will miss you, not only as our council clerk, but just how much I will miss you as a person. And I will miss your influence in our council sessions. So we wish you the very, very best of luck in the years ahead. And I'm sure my colleagues would probably like to share a few remarks as well. I'll turn it over to them, but I just wanted you to know that I'm thinking about you today, this being your final council session with all of us. Commissioner Hardesty, I see your hand is raised.
Thank you, Mayor. First I want to find out, can't we take an action to make sure that Carla doesn't retire?
I tried everything. I tried changing the contract.
Let me just say that, Carla, I've only been, of course, in the city council as a commissioner for 21 or so months. But you and I go back decades. And as a community member who comes in to testify at City Hall, you are the bright spot that people see when they first walk into City Hall. You always have a smile. You're always helpful. And no matter what you're doing, it's always amazed me how you were able to multitask with people asking you 20 questions at the same time. I've never seen you get frustrated with the public or the council. And I just want you to know that you are a model of a true public servant that shows up, that goes above and beyond the call of duty. And I am so grateful to have had your friendship and to have your expertise as part of this deliberative body. And I hope that you have some wonderful things that you have planned in your retirement, and know that I'll be looking for you to volunteer for some activities that may be going on. So you should hide, because I'll be looking for you to put you on some committee to help us continue to do the hard work we must do. I just want you to know I'm grateful, I'm appreciative, and I think you are a model of what a true public servant is, and you are a hard model to live up to. And so thank you for your decades of service to the people of the city of Portland.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Fritz.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Carla. And I echo what Commissioner Hardesty just said. In addition, you're kind. You are kind to everybody, and you are kind to us as elected officials, and also always so supportive. When we mess up, you do it. You gently correct us. You don't say you idiots, you messed up, which you wouldn't, because you are a true public servant, as Commissioner Hardesty said. I am glad that I was able to honour you with a Spirit of Portland Award, which was so richly deserved. Mayor Wheeler's opening statement reminded me, people think we are in absolutely tumultuous times, as the mayor's statement yesterday at the end of the budget hearing said. And we have had many, many tumultuous times over the 12 years that I've been on the council. And throughout it all, you have been that center of calm and kindness. And I say, well done, good and faithful servant, public servant. I am a little resentful on your behalf for those who say that you're not allowed to retire, because you have definitely earned it, and it's up to you now to choose what you want to do. And I know you will choose to spend your time wisely, and I wish you every blessing, every comfort, every joy that not having to do the job will undoubtedly bring, as well as I hope you have many good memories. So thank you very, very much, personally and professionally.
Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Carla. This day snuck up on me a little bit. I feel like we should be toasting you with champagne, but we can't even see your face because of this extraordinary situation we find ourselves in. I'm really gonna miss you. You've been the only constant in Chambers for the 4 years that I've been there, and such a kind of grounding, calming presence in that room that can be so hectic sometimes. It's really hard to imagine city council meetings without you. You've been a gracious expert, patiently guiding me and my team through the intricate procedures and rules of chamber. Not everyone has memorized Robert's Rules of Order, so I'm really glad you were there to prop me up, especially in those early days. You've kept council and our sessions from going off the rails countless times, and although I would prefer that you not retire, I do have to admit that you have more than earned it. So thank you for your dedication to Portland and to this council. And I know you're leaving us in capable hands, having watched Keelan grow under your mentorship. And I wish you all the best. If you figure out a way to bottle your calm and grace, please let me know. I'll be the first to buy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Daly. Commissioner Ryan.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Carla, I really don't know you. I've been here about a half hour, and we're meeting virtually. And but all that said, you have had this amazing calming presence during my onboarding, and I know that we always rest on the shoulders, not rest. We build off the shoulders of others, and you've set a tone. So I appreciate that. And I just got a comment on your last name, and maybe heading into the rest of this meeting. Your last name is More Love. I can't think of anything more important for the city of Portland right now than to have more love. So something tells me your name didn't just happen out of happenstance. So I really appreciate you, and I just wish you the best in your next chapter. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you. All appreciate it. And Carla, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you wanted to say anything since it's your last day with the council, you certainly have earned it.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I do. I really appreciate all those very kind comments, and I've gotten a lot of very nice emails as well. Everybody for those. But these 20 years have been, yes, good times and bad times. But I've always enjoyed what I did. I like working with the people. I like working with the staff. You're all great people to work with. And I want to thank you so much for the opportunity I had to work here. I just appreciate it. These 30 years went by quick, but I have enjoyed my time. And like you said, Keelan is going to be a great next clerk. She's real sharp, and I know you'll appreciate her and be kind to her. And I want to thank you again. And thank you for the good wishes. I don't have a lot of plans right now with all this going on for retirement. But when things get back to maybe normal, I'll think of something fun to do. Thank you so much. Appreciate all of you.
Awesome. Thank you, Carla. And hopefully when the COVID crisis is behind us, we'll have the opportunity to celebrate in style the way you deserve to be celebrated. We'll look forward to that moment.
Thank you.
All right. And secondarily, we have a second pre-gavel item that my colleagues and I are going to address collectively. Before we get underway with the city's business, my colleagues and I want to share some remarks about demonstrations. that are planned for this Saturday that some people in the public have probably been hearing about or reading about. I want our entire community to know that first and foremost, our priority is to ensure and protect the safety and the well-being of everyone. My office is working with the Portland Police Bureau and community partners to make sure that what happens this weekend when groups often associated with alt-right or white nationalist views indicate that they'll be coming to the city of Portland. They've announced plans to gather at Delta Park, the location of the historic Van Park City that was home to many of our region's Black residents and the site of a devastating flood back in 1948. Whether it was intentional or not, choosing Delta Park for this event is an insult to many people in our Black community. Despite the statements that they're coming in peace, people associated with these groups have historically shown us that they embody and empower racism, intolerance, and hate. These are not Portland values, and they are not values that we welcome here, and they are not values that we embrace here. Hate has no home in the city of Portland. Violence has no home in Portland. Anyone intending to intimidate, to create fear, to commit any act of violence or spread hate is not going to be welcomed here, and any acts of violence or criminal destruction will be viewed as criminal activity and people will be held accountable. For this Saturday to remain a peaceful day, which is what all of us want, we need everyone's help. We must stand together. My ask of everyone in our city is to join me in saying that hate is not welcome here, that violence is not welcome here. Together, we can prevent white nationalists from achieving their goal of misrepresenting the city of Portland for political gain. Portland remains an amazing and awe-inspiring city. It's a city that has long embraced peace. It's a city we cherish for its beauty, a city we love for its historic tolerance, for its willingness to embrace the most respected of American values, and that is the right to assembly and the right to free speech. We will always support the rights of people to peacefully assemble, even when we do not agree with their views. And we will always stand against those who provoke violence or hate or fear, regardless of their political stance. We will work hard to prevent our city from being targeted by the president for the purpose of stirring up partnership and dividing our country along racial lines. Instead, we must continue to stand firm in our collective values of progress, of reform, and of justice. I ask that you join me in letting those intent on committing violence know that we will not stand for it. This weekend, don't give people from out of town the satisfaction of distracting us or slowing us down. Let's keep our focus on what's important and keep pressing forward together. We have the capacity to solve the issues in our community. We have the ability to solve complex problems by working together, and we will not be divided. I believe some of my colleagues would also like to make a statement. Commissioner Fritz.
Thank you, Mayor, and well said. We are Portland, and we Portlanders can and will work together to find solutions to the challenges, and we will keep the focus on the Black Lives Matter movement because Black Lives Matter, and we will not be distracted. In addition to the significance of Delta Park as being the site of Vanport, it's also a sacred site for the Indigenous communities. The powwow is held there every year, and I've been blessed to attend it. And so it's a special site for many people historically and in the present. And it's probably no coincidence that it's been chosen by these people coming from outside. So Portland Parks and Recreation has received a request for a permit for the proposed event, and we will be responding to that today. And so that announcement will be going out shortly. And as the mayor said, let's work together. Let's make sure that we keep the focus on the Black Lives Matter movement, on the work that needs to be done to support all of our people of color, but especially Black and Indigenous people. And let's not give attention to those who are clearly seeking it, like petulant toddlers. Let's make sure that we don't give them the attention and perhaps even the fight that they're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Commissioner Hardesty.
Thank you, Mayor. I was unaware that we were going to have an opportunity to talk about the upcoming rally this morning. Let me just say that this is not who Portland is. And when we have an influx of hate speech and hate activity coming in from all over the country, being encouraged and supported by 45, and being and using Portland as an example of a place that, because we are who we are in Portland, that's what 45 and the white supremacists hate. We are a place that is inclusive. We are a place that we strive to be the best. Yes, we fight among ourselves, but that's what families do. And collectively, we must make sure that we are unambiguous and standing up against hate speech, hate violence, and hate activity, especially when it's being brought in by people who don't live here, don't work here, don't worship here, and don't have a stake in our community. I am pleased that you took the time this morning, Mayor, to give us a chance to reflect on the upcoming weekend and the potential for folks to come to our community to create violence. That's what they come for. And it is my hope that we do everything within our power to actually don't let them in our city, and don't let them create the kind of violence and fear. That's what they're about. They're about spreading fear, divisiveness, and hate. And we as Portlanders will not tolerate that. So if you're listening, white ring radicals who think you're going to come here and just have fun beating up on liberals, we are drawing a line in the sand. You're not welcome. We don't want you. And if you come, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure you don't get into the city of Portland. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hardesty. Commissioner Daly has her hand raised. Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, once again, we find ourselves in the position of wasting public resources on hateful headline-seeking detractors. To those planning to drive into our city this weekend, stay home. You're not welcome in our city. The notion that a bunch of extremists that don't live in Portland, Oregon, have any right to take back Portland is absurd. Portland is a proud, progressive city, and nothing you do will change that. As elected officials representing the people of Portland, we are committed to justice for Black lives and transforming our public safety and policing systems. To our constituents, I understand the desire to take to the streets and show these extremists that their hate is not welcome here. I share your concerns and the visceral desire to oppose them, but I'm asking you to stay home or at least stay away from these extremists this weekend. Most importantly for your safety, but also to deny them what they want, an audience. Let them show themselves to be the bullies and fools they are, all on their own. This is a publicity stunt. Portland is in the public eye. The president is waiting for footage to bolster his claims of anarchy and of democratic ineptitude. He's using images of Portland to fundraise, to stoke fear in swing states, to dominate national media coverage, and it's working. Don't let them use Portland as a backdrop for Trump's reelection. Don't play into their hands. I stand in solidarity with protesters for racial justice in support of Black lives. There are so many ways that we need to show up and make a difference in our community. As a movement, the best thing that we can do this weekend is to stay home, stay safe, and work to ensure that the next administration represents Portlanders. I want to suggest that since we've been designated an anarchist jurisdiction, that we practice the loving mutual aid that we've seen during especially these last couple of weeks with fires in our states. There are many ways to resist right-wing extremists and hate mongers, and I think showing love to our community is absolutely the best way to do that this weekend. Stay safe.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Wheeler. And thank you for this opportunity for us to take a breath together and acknowledge what we've heard is happening this Saturday. I didn't know we were going to do this, and I'm pleased to say a couple things. When I was on my walk this morning, I was thinking about this Saturday, and the reason I was thinking about it is because I saw essential workers out in the rain, fixing a utility line. I saw a parent that I knew that was trying to get some fresh air in before they multitask their job and take care of their kids in partnership with their teachers, which always makes me think about the essential worker parents that need so much support right now as they try to partner with teachers to get education for their students. And thinking about all of this together on this is what we should be focusing on, is our city building forward during these unprecedented times. And so it made me contemplate what I've learned in life, which is how much courage it takes. And it seems counterintuitive to go high by just simply ignoring something so unspeakable. And I found that when you don't give attention or you don't punch back, it becomes a non-news event. And I can't think of a better moment in time for our city to provide the national folks a non-news event this Saturday. And so I want to really give a lot of attention to the bureaus that have all stepped up, that are working behind the scenes to work together, that are being strategic, not only the public safety bureaus, but parks and PBOT. I just really want to acknowledge all the hard work that they're doing to keep us safe. And so I think all of what my colleagues have said has been spot on. And I just want to add to the fact that we're united as a commission, as a council, that this is a place for all. This is a place for, we're doing good work. We're taking action, which was what matters for our BIPOC communities. And it's building, like we were talking about last night, building that new community safety system. That's the work right now. And so we will not be distracted or deterred by outside agents that are coming in, and they just need to go back to the no place that they came from. And I'm thrilled to be in this city at this time with my colleagues and with the bureaus as we work together to keep us all safe on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. Very good. Then with that, welcome everybody. This is the Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020 morning session of the Portland City Council. Carla, please call the roll.
Hardesty,
Here.
Udaly,
Here.
Fritz,
Here.
Ryan,
Here.
Wheeler.
Here, under Portland City Code and state law, the City Council is holding this meeting electronically. All members of the council are attending remotely by video and teleconference, and the city has made several avenues available for the public to listen to the audio broadcast of this meeting. The meeting is available to the public on the city's YouTube channel, eGovPDX, www.portlandoregon.gov/video, and channel 30. The public can also provide written testimony to the council by emailing the council clerk at cctestimony@portlandoregon.gov. The council is taking these steps as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the need to limit in-person contact and promote physical distancing. The pandemic is an emergency that threatens the public health, safety, and welfare, which requires us to meet remotely by electronic communications. Thank you all for your continued patience, flexibility, understanding, good humor as we manage through this difficult situation to do the city's business. And now we will hear from legal counsel on the rules of order and decorum. Lindley, you're up. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. To participate in council meetings, you may sign up in advance with the council clerk's office for communications to briefly speak about any subject. You may also sign up for public testimony on resolutions or the first readings of ordinances. The published council agenda at portlandoregon.gov/auditor contains information about how and when you may sign up for testimony while council is holding electronic meetings. Your testimony should address the matter being considered at the time. When testifying, please state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. Please disclose if you're a lobbyist. If you are representing an organization, please identify it. The presiding officer determines the length of testimony. Individuals generally have 3 minutes to testify unless otherwise stated. When your time is up, the presiding officer will ask you to conclude. Disruptive conduct, such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting others' testimony or council deliberations will not be allowed. If there are disruptions, a warning will be given that further disruption may result in the person being placed on hold or ejected from the remainder of the electronic meeting. Please be aware that all council meetings are recorded. And very briefly, on behalf of the attorneys who cover council meetings, we want to tell Carla how much we have appreciated your leadership, calmness, and humor over the years. And that's 21 years for me. Thank you for being such an amazing colleague. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindley.
Thank you very much. Carla, first up, of course, is communications. Item number 746, our first individual, please. And colleagues, if you could check your hand raise function as well.
Request of Gregory Horner to address council regarding message to the city auditor. He contacted us and will not be speaking today.
Very good. Thanks, Carla. Next individual is 747.
Request of Benjamin Donlin to address council regarding enhanced service districts and the Portland Business Alliance and their relationship to homelessness.
Good evening, council. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great. How are you doing today? It's good to see all of y'all. It's a bright and sunny day. Actually, it's raining. Never mind. Hey, so I am here to talk about enhanced service districts in the Portland Business Alliance, but in order to do that, I first need to talk about business improvement districts. It's a bit of a nuanced conversation, but a very overreaching conversation. It concerns just about every single major city in the United States. So these business improvement districts are essentially collections or defined areas for property managers or business owners that pay a fee or a tax to their respective cities. They then use that money to go out and lobby against the homeless and to create anti-homeless ordinances and to basically connect multinational corporations down to city councils. They act as essentially like ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Committee, but on a more local level. Mayor Wheeler, I know you are familiar with business improvement districts as your history is in private-public partnerships, and you had a personal hand in creating the pedestrian plaza over at Ankeny Alley, which was created by the New York Downtown Times Square Alliance, which is one of the most powerful bids in the entire country. There are currently 3 bids or enhanced service districts in this city. That would be Clean and Safe, the Lloyd District, and Central East Side together. When the Central East Side was forming, I formed a committee known as the Compassionate Care District with my colleagues in order to address that issue. Through that work, you took a personal stance in helping negotiate terms as well as Council Hardesty. And we came to an amicable middle ground. Through that work, also, they decided to staff a couple people, houseless people onto their boards. However, enforcement in that area has gone up by a big percentage, and there's been more arrests there since they've been there. That being said, it is my recommendation that enhanced service districts are not good for the community. They have a history of basically gentrifying and arresting people who were placed on the streets, given that they are connected so intimately with the business alliances that helped redline and helped create very unfavorable conditions for the urban renewal zones, such as like in the Pearl District, where 80% of Black people were, of course, 15 years were pushed out onto the streets. They helped create these nets, these cycles of poverty that kept them through the streets to jail pipeline, essentially. And so I have a listing of recommendations that I'll go through. The first recommendation I'll make is that the clean and safe renewal contract is coming up in 6 months. It needs to be addressed. I think that given the audit that just came out that showed that throughout 26 years and over $200 million has gone unaccounted for, has been had no oversight, that every incident with the private security of Portland Patrol and the and houseless individuals has had basically no mechanisms of accountability.
That's 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Ben, can you do me a favor, since I want to acknowledge your leadership role and the work you've done with the city. So I'm going to let you continue for 1 more minute so you can get through the other 5, but can you keep it brief, please?
I will keep it as brief as possible. Sorry, I should have timed this ahead of time. I would recommend that the Portland Business Alliance contract with the Portland Police Association is reviewed. It has a 30-day revocation notice. I think that the community court's involvement with the Portland Business Alliance should be reviewed in the DA's office, Strategic Prosecution Services Unit, and the Deputy District Attorney staffers. I think that the parking meter taxing district should be reviewed and how they fund these ESDs. That's 50% of the parking meters, and the parking permits, which is driven parking permits to the highest in the country in the Central East Side, second being Oakland. I think that the city and county's investment of $500,000 every year to pay these nonprofits, these 501c7s, in order to turn around and lobby the city to tell them that homelessness is not needed or okay in the city is very odd. And I think that because the Portland Business Alliance is collecting public monies through the Clean and Safe Enhanced Service District as a pass-through for this money, that I think they should be audited. And I would recommend council to audit them, to audit the Portland Business Alliance. And I think that a lot of these monies, if there was reform or if these ESDs were absolved, that this money could be used for a participatory budgeting measure that was recommended by you, Willer, and by Hardesty, such as with the Houseless Project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Daly, then Commissioner Hardesty.
Mayor, that's old hand raised. Sorry.
All right, no worries. Commissioner Hardesty.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Benjamin. I am I've always been a bit concerned about the enhanced service districts. I think the auditor has given us really good information in the first audit, I believe, that's ever been done. And I know that as a city council, we will be having a work session on that audit coming up, I believe, next month. And I want you to know, Benjamin, that I'm committed to reviewing that audit and actually making sure that whatever we have in the future is better than what we have right now. I continue to be concerned that we allow people with money to buy more policing services, and that's exactly what the Enhanced Service District does. When we allow private businesses to buy DAs and to buy police, that is not the way government is supposed to operate. And so, Benjamin, you have my commitment that we are going to be looking into that audit, and we will be making real changes into that program. So thank you. Thank you for your hard work. And I am disappointed to hear that the CEIC's Enhanced Service District is not working as we intended. I do have a meeting coming up with the CEIC board very soon, and I will be following up on some of what you have presented today. So I just want to say thank you for your commitment, for your continued work, and work with us, because we do need to make some changes based on the audit, and I'm committed to making that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, Commissioner. Next individual, Carla, 748.
Request of Brian Betcone to address council regarding better identification for Portland police officers to increase accountability to Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities.
Hi, my name is Brian Becklund. I'd like to say thank you to Carla and thank you to the mayor and commissioners for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to request that the city of Portland please mandate better identification for Portland Police Bureau officers. This is so as to provide better police accountability to Black and brown people who are disproportionately affected by police misconduct. For many months now, I've been told by the mayor's office that better identification is necessary and are working on the issue. We're yet to see any concrete action on identification to match this rhetoric. Just yesterday, the Portland Committee on Community Engaged Policing unanimously passed a recommendation regarding identification. I am here today to request that you please adopt the entirety of this recommendation from PSEP. Also, the Oregon State Legislature Joint Committee on Transparent Policing and Use of Force Reform has drafted a legislative concept 18 that will provide uniform identification requirements statewide. Please direct the Portland Police Bureau to bring their identification requirements in accord with the proposed statutes in LC 18. The Oregon State Legislature Joint Committee on Ways and Means has determined that the reforms would cost very little. Portland must set the example for the rest of the country with regards to what proper police identification and accountability should look like. We have a responsibility to provide better police accountability to Black and brown individuals. Please commit to adopting the PSEP recommendation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. And thank you for acknowledging the work of PSEP. And that recommendation has now come to me. So it is being thoroughly evaluated. And I appreciate the work that you've done on it and the work that the Portland Committee on Community Engaged Policing has done. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Individual Carla 749.
Request of Gia Naranjo Rivera to address council regarding solutions for homelessness, poverty, and police brutality targeting the unhoused.
Good morning.
I'm not seeing her on the line. Keelan, do we know if she's available?
Yeah, I'm not seeing her either. Yeah, she may not have joined.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, very good. She can always certainly provide her testimony in writing as well. 750 then is our last communications.
Request of Susan Carter to address council regarding Portland Police Bureau use of force guidelines.
Good morning. Susan, are you on board? Oh, technology.
I don't
Okay.
see her. Oh, I don't see her.
There she is. Hi,
Oh, there she
Susan.
is. Oh, you got her. Okay.
I'm finally here. Now I'm trying to share my screen,
All righty.
and I'm getting very close.
Yeah, we're all muddling through the technology, so thanks for your patience.
Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners Daly, Fritz, Hardesty, and Ryan for this opportunity to speak to you. My name is Susan Cotter. I use she, her pronouns. I live in North Portland and am an unaffiliated community member. I last spoke to City Council about the difficulty I had in trying to assess the state of police oversight and asking you to show your work. After further investigation, I've concluded that PPB is rogue. Of course, that's no surprise to you. All of those in the know are publicly raising their alarm. We are clear more than ever before why you placed Police Oversight Board Charter Amendment on the November 3rd ballot. This time, I'd like to highlight some police use of force data. For perspective, it's important to note that nearly 70% of use of force incidents do not involve a weapon, and 63% are resisting handcuffing and control against resistance. But what is most stunning is the prevalence of this type of force on vulnerable populations. I don't believe people outside these populations would tolerate such frequent restraint, but it is doubly offensive when focused on vulnerable populations. This data clearly shows use of force isn't about safety. for PPB or for community members. This is about power over the powerless and brings shame to our entire community. Shame on PPB for acting like playground bullies out to stir up trouble, but not confident enough to pick on someone their own size. Shame on Police Commissioner Wheeler. Allowing law enforcement to brutalize our community members is irresponsible, but to not protect them when you can't is shameful. Shame on the council for not providing adequate leadership and resources to support and protect our communities. Health services are tricky, but imperative, and houseless safety seems conceivable. Shame on me and all Portlanders for not being able to effectuate a change before now, despite Herculean efforts by so many great public and community servants. We all must vow to find a way to protect them, and now Black Lives Matter protesters from PPB force. We can't wait for next year's budget, street response, charter reform, or a new union contract to protect our community members from the damage inflicted now. Use the fall bump to find money. Be creative. Spend the $5 million the street response can't spend in $20 million. I don't know. Hire legal observers for all police activities. Fund community-based organizations to provide support against PPB encounters. Be creative. Do something meaningful now to protect our community members from our shameful police force. Thank you for your consideration. There is no peace without justice. Black Lives Matter.
Thank you, Susan. Carla, that completes communications. Have any items been pulled off of the consent agenda?
We've had no request, Mayor.
Please call the roll.
Hardesty,
Aye.
Udaly,
Aye.
Fritz,
Commissioner Fritz, you're muted.
Sorry, aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye, the consent agenda is adopted. Thank you. We now move to the regular agenda. The first item on the regular agenda today is item 760, Carla.
Appoint Kevin Rogers and Terry Cross to the Community Budget Advisory Board.
As we move forward with our fall budget monitoring process conversations, I'm excited to appoint both Terry Cross and Kevin Rogers to be community budget advisors. Being a community budget advisor requires a significant amount of time, dedication, and passion for making our city better. I know how hard this work is, and I'm so appreciative of our community members who are willing to take on this challenge to make our city and our decisions better. I look forward to having Terry and Kevin's wealth of experience and knowledge contribute to this and future budget processes. Budget Director Kennard is here, Jessica Kennard is here to provide more information about the board and these two specific candidates. Good morning, Jessica.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm Jessica Kennard, City Budget Director. I'd be remiss if I didn't also take this opportunity to express my gratitude, admiration, and blessings to Carla. She's facilitated, as we know, many passionate budget hearings, particularly in recent years, with expertise and grace. And my staff and I have greatly appreciated her kindness and her partnership and wish her the best.
Thank you, Director.
I am here to tell you a bit about the Community Budget Advisory Board and two candidates for appointment today. So the Community Budget Advisory Board consists of 5 members who are residents of the City of Portland. They serve staggered 3-year terms and may be reappointed. They provide valuable community input as part of the city's annual and supplemental budget processes, as they participate in all council budget deliberations by advising the City Council on proposed budget amendments and by assisting in the review and discussion of budget plans and results. The board had 2 resignations over the summer. Pam Knowles served on the board since March of 2017. She wanted to ensure the board benefited from the experience of a Black community member and connected us with Kevin. Dinechka Otero Serrano served on the board since March of 2016. She resigned due to time conflicts related to the increased community need for services during the public health crisis. I would like to acknowledge their service and thank them each for their many contributions over the years. Kevin Rogers and Terry Cross will be serving the remaining durations of Pam's and Dinechka's terms respectively, with the opportunity for reappointment afterwards to new 3-year terms. This commitment represents more than 20 hours per year of advisory service to the council and the city. I want to share a little bit about these highly accomplished gentlemen. So Kevin C. Rogers is responsible for ensuring that all financial and audit activities for Disability Rights Oregon occur in a timely and accurate manner. During his career, he has functioned in diverse roles such as an industrial engineer, senior accountant, senior financial analyst, and controller. He has worked in several industries such as manufacturing, technology, healthcare, consumer goods, and not-for-profits. Throughout his career, Kevin has provided financial advice and counsel to senior management teams and has provided leadership to business units and teams. Prior to joining Disability Rights Oregon, he served as the Director of Finance for the Latino Network. He has also held contract roles with Intel and Nike. Other roles include time as the Chief Operations Officer and Chief Financial Officer for the Urban League of Portland, Lead Financial Consultant, Ambulatory Care for Kaiser Permanente of the Northwest. He has also served as a Business Controller Informational Technology Division for Daimler Trucks of North America, a subsidiary of Daimler AG located in Portland, and other experience includes roles as a project manager and finance manager for the business operations group at ACX, a Xerox company. He started out at Boeing as an industrial engineer, and he has had obviously experience in a variety of industries. He possesses a BA in business administration from Washington State University, and he's a 22-year resident of Oregon and resides in Northeast Portland with his wife and daughter. Terry Cross, Haneganoa, and I'm sorry, Terry, if you're on and I mispronounced that, please correct me. He is an enrolled member of the Seneca Nation of Indians Bear Clan. He received his master's degree in social work from Portland State University in Portland, Oregon in 1977. And in 1999, he was selected as a Portland State University Alumni of the Year. In 2015, he was awarded an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters degree by PSU. He is the founding executive director of, and now is a senior advisor to, the National Indian Child Welfare Association. Dr. Cross has served as a commissioner on Oregon's Higher Education Coordinating Commission since 2015. He serves the W.K. Kellogg Foundation as a racial healing practitioner and has consulted internationally on race relations and cultural competence. He is the author of Positive Indian Parenting, Cross-Cultural Skills in Indian Child Welfare, and has co-authored Toward a Culturally Competent System of Care, which was published by Georgetown University. He's also the author of the Encyclopedia of Social Work entry on cultural competence, an agency cultural competence self-assessment, and several articles and curricula on the topic. His highest honor has to be initiated into the Kenai Chieftain Society by the Blood Tribe of Canada. He was also honored by Vice President Al Gore with an award for improving government, one of the few non-federal employees to receive such an award. Dr. Cross is a senior fellow of the American Leadership Forum of Oregon, Class 11. In 2008, he was appointed by the Secretary of Health and Human Services to serve on a National Advisory Council for the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. 2011, he received the Robert F. Kennedy Embracing the Legacy Award at the Kennedy Presidential Library in Boston. He has 47 years of experience in child welfare and children's mental health, and is a licensed clinical social worker. So both of these highly accomplished gentlemen would have loved to be here today. They both had conflicts. I'm looking to see if Terry was able to make it. It looks like he was not, but they are eager and excited to serve the city in this capacity. And clearly, I am also very excited to benefit from their wealth of experience and expertise.
Thank you, Jessica. Colleagues, any thoughts or questions other than the fact that I'm sure all of us now feel wholly inadequate having heard those credentials?
That's exactly what I was thinking, Mayor. I was like, they should have my job, right? Why are they just going to be on a budget advisory committee? Mayor, if I may, I just want to applaud. You know, I'm always concerned when we're like, when somebody resigns and we like add somebody in the middle of a term. But I want to compliment you, Director Kennard and Mayor Wheeler, for actually walking our talk. Because I was going to ask, so what is the background of these people and how are they connected to BIPOC communities and blah, blah, blah. And you just blew me away. It's like every question I would have had, you have answered. So I truly applaud you because we are building a new, more inclusive, more equitable city. And by golly, you did it with these appointments. So I want to thank you very much for your thoughtfulness and finding the right people for the job at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hardesty. I also just want to say how much I've appreciated Pam and Dineshka's participation on our Budget Advisory Committee. For the public listening, these are individuals who residents from the community who sit with the City Council during the budget hearings, and they have every opportunity to act independently, to ask whatever questions they want of Bureau directors or staff, or even questions they want to ask of us as members of the City Council. And they tend to be people who invest a tremendous amount of time and energy in going through the complexities of the budget. And it's a lot of work. Oddly enough, years before I served as mayor, I served as one of the first 2 budget advisory members, along with Elsa Porter, who some of you know as well. And I remember it being a significant time commitment then. It's a significant time commitment now. And I'm really appreciative, Pam and Dineshka, if you're listening to this, for your years of service as well. And I certainly look forward to both Kevin and Terry joining us and giving us good advice and counsel. If there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion on the report.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hardesty, a second from Commissioner Daly. Any further thoughts? Carla, please call the roll.
Hardesty,
Aye.
Daly.
Well, thank you both for your willingness to serve. You obviously bring an abundance of professional and community experience, and we're lucky to have you serving on this committee. I vote aye.
Fritz.
Thank you to Pam and Dineshka. It was really fun and interesting serving with you. And as the mayor said, it does take a lot of commitment. And thank you to the new people who have agreed to serve, and to the recruitment process that went into finding these spectacular candidates. I was just about to mention that Mayor Wheeler served as a budget advisor way back when. I think it's a hugely great, it's a good way to learn about how the city actually runs and the intricacies of the Bureau budgets. I think it has given him a great foundation as mayor to do the fiscal responsibility that he has shown throughout his time on the council. And so I was also thinking, there's elections every 2 years. You will have lots of opportunities to decide whether you might be interested in doing even more, and even so, at this time, doing it as unpaid volunteers, given the time commitment. I'm really looking forward to serving with you for the full budget monitoring process. I'm chagrined in some ways that I won't be here next year to listen to your wisdom, and also still mindful of the contributions that Pam, Dineshka, and the current committee have done over the time that I've been on the council. Aye.
Ryan?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Kevin and Terry, for stepping up. Superb recruitment, and thank you for saying yes. Your multi-sector experience was noted and needed, and I say yes. Aye.
Wheeler?
Happy to vote aye. The report is accepted and the appointments are approved. Thanks, Director Kennard. Appreciate your leadership. Next up is 761.
Appoint Rakeem Washington to the Home Forward Board of Commissioners for a term to expire September 2024.
Very good. I'll turn this over to the leadership of Home Forward.
Good morning, Mayor Wheeler, commissioners. My name is Michael Bonacore. I'm the executive director of Home Forward. And I apologize, I am having some connectivity issues, so I'm doing this call on my phone. I believe our board chair, Damian Hall, is here with us.
Yeah, he's here.
Yes, and I know Rakeem hoped to be here and was juggling, so I'm not sure if he was able to make it.
Yeah, he's also on board.
Oh, good. Great. Well, I will be relatively brief, and then if Chair Hall or Rakeem want to say anything or you have questions for them, I'll hand it over to them. I feel Rakeem is ill-served by being introduced after that last presentation. We don't always we don't always sort of do such a full presentation of our candidates for commissioner, but I'm thrilled to introduce Rakeem to all of you. He is going to fill the ninth position on our board where we have a vacancy. He's one of the 5 City of Portland slots. Rakeem currently serves as the Director of Access and Reentry for Portland Community College, where he works to increase academic and career equity for non-traditional and underrepresented students, focusing on the intersection between education access and race, gender ability, citizenship, and socioeconomic status. He's also a professor at PSU, where he facilitates inquiry-based curriculum for students focused on critical race theory, current events and community advocacy, and is also the co-founder of a business called Engage to Change, in which he facilitates anti-racism trainings. I could go on at length about his amazing background and how well it will serve Home Forward, but I think it speaks for itself. So I'll stop there, either for questions or for Chair Hall or Rakeem to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Mayor, commissioners, great to be here today. Thank you for your time. I'll keep it short and sweet. You know, Home Forward appreciates our close and continued partnership with the City of Portland and the Housing Bureau to really continue to best serve our members, our residents, as well as to continue to create new units that are so desperately needed, both in the city and in the Multnomah County at large. I think in Rakeem Washington, we found a really good candidate to be a Home Forward commissioner, who frankly, from my perspective, he's probably overqualified as a person who, as Michael mentioned, has dedicated his career to really helping youth who have been impacted by the criminal justice system. And that's just a sliver of what he does. So I appreciate the appointment, and I'll turn it over to Rakeem to say anything that you'd like to add.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, commissioners. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Damian. I'll just be very brief. I'm very excited to work with the Home Forward Board. I spent a lot of my professional career and development at the confluence of a lot of the societal ills that affect Black and Brown folks in particular. So the intersections of the criminal justice system and houselessness and unequal access to medical care and education and so forth. And so I'm really hopeful and proud to just bring my experience and understanding of those worlds to the Home Forward Board and just look forward to the chance to work with them. So thank you all.
Mayor, if I may, I want to say that you are not introducing me to Rakeem Washington. I have known him forever and know his commitment to folks who have not had a voice in our community. And Rakeem, I cannot think of a better appointee with your background because we know that folks coming back from incarceration are making up the largest increases of folks who are living on our street. And your voice is absolutely critical if we're ever going to get a handle on how we make housing available for everyone in our community. I'm just going to say I'm a little jealous because I had a couple of things I was about to try to sweet talk you into doing. And I think I have been outmaneuvered by Home Forward. But let me just say what a pleasure that you are willing to do this because I know how busy you are. And I know your commitment to folks who don't have a voice. And I am just, I got to tell you, today has been the day for the best appointments we've ever had. Hi, is that your partner back there trying to figure out who's saying all those nice things about you? Hi, welcome. Rakeem, you know, I have deep regard and deep love for you and your family and the work that you consistently do, regardless of who's watching. And so thank you for agreeing to join the Home Forward Board. I can't wait for you and I to shake up that board and make sure that folks coming back from incarcerated actually have an opportunity to have a good life in our community. Thank you. And thank you, Michael. Thank you, Damien. You know, you guys got it going on. I am really jealous because I had a plan and you guys beat me to it. So, but I'll get over it. You know,
Thank you, Commissioner.
I don't keep grudges. I'll get over it. So thank you so much, all of you.
Well, there you go. Michael, you heard the commissioner. She said she doesn't keep grudges. I'd stay at least 6 feet away. It's good. That's that theory a little bit. But Rakeem, thank you very much for your willingness to step forward. This is great news, and I agree with everything Commissioner Hardesty just said. And Damien, thank you for your service and your leadership as well. And of course, Michael, we put a lot of pressure on you, and I know we do. We put a lot of pressure on you to deliver with limited resources, and you do a brilliant job, and your organization has been just an utterly critical partner for all of us. So thank you for that. This being a resolution, Carla, is there any testimony?
Yes, Mayor, we have Edith Gillis.
Very good. Good morning, Edith.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, if you can speak up a little bit, Edith, it's quiet for some reason.
I'm having my connectivity go up and down.
All right, we can hear. It's good enough.
Okay,
It's good enough.
before you start counting my time, I wanted to first thank Carla Morlov about the improved change for the online registration, having it box for people to check off so they know clearly what they can and cannot comment on. That is efficient, that is effective, that is fair, and it's so like you. I really appreciate how you've been calm and professional, polite, flexible, friendly, fair, and reliable and trustworthy. I like being able to see someone who's in a very difficult situation where a lot of us are very, very unhappy and a lot of things are changing and there may be a lot of things you may not agree with, but how you handle it with grace. And I just wanted, before I'm counted on my time comment, I wanted to say that. Now to start my timing. I think this agenda item is a perfect example of why I want to have some changes on city council agendas. Please, when you can, give 4 weeks, and when you can't do that, 2 weeks notice, post online what sort of agenda items are coming up so we can get more people involved to come in and speak. It would have been great to have a lot of folks, for example, come in and comment about this candidate and issues that we want to have go forward from Home Forward. It would be very important, and I want you to, as all of you on the City Council, to commit that when you have these agenda items, that you have a link to the contracts, the job descriptions, the tax or non-tax money that's involved, the vested interests, and in these cases, the wonderful qualifications of these people. This can put a lot of the anxiety at rest, where people are feeling that the city is taking our money, as Commissioner Hardesty has said about Lenson, where I've lived the last 20 years or so, overtaxed, underserved, over-policed, and underheard. And so when you can say what fantastic candidates we have, this is going to relieve a lot of the tension, and it's going to relieve a lot of the redundancy. What I wanted to also say is that I would like you to have on the agenda items, both not only for you, but for the public to see how each of these items fit in a grid with our human rights, including safe, fair, accessible housing, social, racial justice and reparations, climate justice, and transitioning with a regenerative culture change, public health and safety that is not dependent upon police, and increased democracy, transparency, accountability, and community across the city. I wanted us to also be able to say more of what these different contracts are for, what are the different organizations, so that people are finding out what is Home Forward doing, what are they accomplishing. I have been watching Home Forward Housing Authority of Portland for more than the last quarter century, and I've been very concerned about the gap between what's professed and what we are giving our monies from federal, county, and city taxes for versus what is actually happening. And this is why we really want to have people on the commission that are representing a wider range than has been so far. Hakeem, Washington is a wonderful new addition. Not only for checklists of issues, of background, of skin color, or whatever, but most importantly for character strengths, for a worldview, a team working, a moral courage. That's what we need, and that's what I'm really grateful to have. And I want to have more. I want to also have you use your city council bully pulpit to make sure that we have better representation of decision makers, not just advice givers. There's only one person on the commission that's supposed to have some kind of lived experience. We need to have more lived experience and across the board. Most of the housing not only is dealing with those that have been formerly incarcerated, often incarcerated through totally unjust systems, but also
That's 3
cases of
minutes.
domestic violence and discrimination against people whose gender is maybe not dominant culture. We need to be able to have you use these occasions not just for a mindless rubber stamp that staff have done, in this case, an excellent job of selecting, but also of educating the public and of having more of a change on the policy and on the budgeting.
Thank you, Edith. Appreciate it. Colleagues, any further questions on this item or comments? Carla, please call the roll.
Hardesty,
Aye.
Daly,
Well, Rakeem Washington's vaguely familiar to me. I do not know him well, but Rakeem, I just want you to know that you have a new fan. I Googled you during this item to learn more about your work, and I want to say as a former homeless teenager, I know that I was really lucky not to get caught up in the legal system and how essential it is for us to address all the barriers that youth and adults face who are justice involved, to help them and to help our communities. So really happy to vote aye.
Fritz,
Thank you so much for the experience and skills that you bring to the board and for your willingness to serve. Again, it's a big time commitment, and it's a big commitment of heart and mind to continue the struggle in these crucially important issues. Thank you so much. Aye.
Ryan,
Yes, good morning. Michael and Damien, good work. Board recruitment is a big deal, and this looks like quite a success story. It was great to get to know you, Rakeem, in this presentation. I was also Googling you, and I look forward to working with you. Welcome aboard, and thank you for your service. Aye.
Wheeler,
One of the benchmarks of the health of an organization is the quality of candidates that want to come in and serve on its board of directors. And so this is a vote of confidence in Home Forward and Michael in your leadership and Damien in your leadership. And Rakeem, thank you for your willingness to serve. Obviously, it wasn't the paycheck that brought you to this board. What it is it's passion, it's conviction, and it's lived and experience, as well as the work that you've done over many, many years, that is going to make you a successful addition to an already successful board. And so I'm always just so gratified when I see people in the community who could be doing any number of things choose to do something that really serves the community well. So that speaks to your character, Rakeem, and I'm really honored that you're willing to spend your time and energy on this important cause. I'm very, very happy to vote aye. The resolution is adopted and the appointment is approved. Thank you all for your leadership. Next item, Carla, is item 762.
accept bid of James W. Fowler Company for the Goose Hollow Sewer Rehabilitation Project for $4,875,000.
Colleagues, the Bureau of Environmental Services, of course, manages the city's stormwater and sewer infrastructure, including 99 pump stations that work together with about 2,500 miles of pipe to send sewage to the Columbia Boulevard wastewater treatment plant. This project will allow the Bureau to rehabilitate or replace approximately 10,100 feet of deteriorating sewer pipes and to construct approximately 1,400 feet of sewer extensions in the Goose Hollow and Southwest Hills neighborhoods. The project will improve reliability and reduce the risk of pipe breakages and sewer releases. That sounds good, which will in turn protect the public's health, people's property, and our environment. The project is scheduled to begin in October, and it'll take approximately 1.5 years to complete. Here today to give a brief presentation is Kathleen Brenes-Mora, Design and Construction Procurement Manager. Good morning, Kathleen. How are you today?
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Kathleen Brenes-Mora. I am here to recommend authorization to enter into a contract with James W. Fowler Company for the Goose Hollow Sewer Rehabilitation Project. On May 13th of this year, Council approved ordinance number 189959 for procurement services to solicit the project. The engineer's estimate was $5,949,000 and the confidence level was high. Procurement services issued an invitation to bid on July 1st and bids were opened on July 30th. We received 5 bids. James W. Fowler Company submitted the lowest responsive bid in the amount of $4,875,000, which is approximately 18% below the engineer's estimate. The city's aspirational 20% subcontractor and supplier utilization goal applied. Fowler has committed to subcontract 32.81% to firms certified by the state's Certification Office for Business Inclusion and Diversity, as identified in the report before you. They are self-performing 65.84% of the work and subcontracting 1.35% to 9 non-certified firms. James W. Fowler has had 15 prior contracts with the city of Portland, dating back to about 2012, totaling about $198 million. They have consistently exceeded our aspirational goals, averaging 30% utilization of certified firms. They are in full compliance with the city's contracting requirements, and I recommend that council accept this report and authorize execution of the contract. If there are any questions about the procurement process, I'm happy to answer those. I know that Joe Dvorak, engineering manager with the Bureau of Environmental Services, is also here if you have any questions about the project scope.
Very good. Thank you, Kathleen. Colleagues, any questions on this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, did you not see? I think my hand's up.
Oh, I see what happened. I'm sorry, Commissioner. I scrolled to the bottom of the list. Commissioner Hardesty.
Thank you. And thank you, Kathleen, for that report. I am happy to support this contract, but I have a question. As I look at the utilization of minority and women-owned businesses, for a contract of this size, I guess I'm concerned that after $100 million in city contracts, that we don't have an expectation that majority contractors are helping to build small businesses. So when you think about the small amount of resources that are actually being subcontracted to the individual subcontracting companies, if this was a major contractor that only has worked with the city for about 4 or 5 years, I would not have even mentioned it because on the surface, they are exceeding our aspirational goals. But when you dig into it, are we really doing anything to help build those small minority and women-owned businesses if they end up with contracts that are, 5,000, 8,000, 10,000, like that? And so I am going to support this contract today, but I think as the mayor and I and other colleagues start really looking at how we do procurement, I think we're going to set new expectations around how are we investing in these minority and women-owned firms rather than are we just reaching a number and not looking at what's the impact on those firms. So just want to give you a heads up. I don't think any major contractor that has had that many contracts with the city should be nickeling and diming small minority firms. And so I'm not going to do anything to stop this process today. But I hope that you will take this back to your colleagues and to majority contractors to let them know that our expectations is not just that they exceed our aspirations, but that they are committed to helping us build minority and women-owned firms so that they become majority contractors. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Thanks, Commissioner Hardesty. Any further comments on this item or questions? Very good. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hardesty, a second from Commissioner Daly. Carla, please call the roll.
Hardesty,
Aye.
Udaly,
Aye.
Fritz.
Well, thanks to staff for all the work on this project, and Mayor Wheeler as the previous Environmental Services Commissioner for explaining it so well. I have to confess that after just 2 weeks, I am not yet up to speed with everything that's going on in the Bureau, but I'm working to do so as fast as I can, and I appreciate the Mayor's partnership. Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Wheeler.
Well, you'll come to find, Commissioner Fritz, that with the Bureau of Environmental Services, people take their good work for granted. And if something breaks, everybody knows. So enjoy it. It's a great crew. Kathleen, you've done a fantastic job here. I really appreciate your hard work on this. I vote aye. The report is accepted. Thank you for your good work.
Thank you.
Next up, Carla, item 763. It's a second reading.
Authorize intergovernmental agreement with Metro to provide funding for the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall Acoustical Enhancement Project not to exceed $1.5 million.
Colleagues, this is a second reading. Last week, we heard the presentation. We took public testimony on this item. Is there any further discussion? Carla, please call the roll.
Hardesty.
Aye.
Udaly.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Ryan.
Yeah, I just want to say a couple things. One is I wanted to call out the private donations that came into this effort, and also taking advantage of the fact that we can't be, there's no butts and seats in our concert halls right now. And so we're taking advantage of this moment in time to do something that's been sorely needed at the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall. So as someone that goes there a lot for venues, I'm thrilled for this investment. Thanks. Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Next item, 764.
Authorize application to the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs, Bureau of Justice Assistance for a grant in the amount of $408,910 for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program, fiscal year 2020, local solicitation to assist the Portland metropolitan area law enforcement and criminal justice community to prevent and reduce crime and violence.
Colleagues, on August 17th of 2020, the City of Portland applied to the United States Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs, Bureau of Justice Assistance for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program for the fiscal 2020 local solicitation. The grant program, instituted by the Department of Justice in 2005, is named after Edward Eddie R. Byrne, a New York City Police Department officer who was killed while on duty in 1988. The Department of Justice directs funding to local law enforcement agencies to assist in their efforts to prevent or reduce crime and violence. The 2020 JAG funds will be made under disparate certification to the city, to Multnomah County, and to the city of Gresham. Portland is the fiscal agent for these other agencies. The formula award amount is allocated to the three entities based on a statutory formula from the Bureau of Justice Statistics. The Police Bureau will receive $203,717. Multnomah County will receive $160,064. The Gresham Police Department will receive $45,129 for a total of $391,694 in federal funding. The Police Bureau will utilize their JAG funding to hire a 1.0 full-time equivalent FTE video production specialist for approximately 2 years for the training division. The specialist's primary role will be to produce videos and animations for online training materials. This online mode of delivery also delivers supplemental and unanticipated training curriculum that cannot be delivered at planned intervals, which is what happened during the state of Oregon's lockdown in mid-March for the novel coronavirus pandemic. Officers were required to complete in-service courses online, which had not been done before on such a large scale. Multnomah County will fund a strategic prosecution and services unit deputy district attorney for 12 months. The Gresham Police Department's funding will purchase red dot sight firearm systems, which will replace outdated inventory. This is a reimbursement grant in which we have an established set of expenditures approved by the Bureau of the VGA. This is a successor to the local law enforcement block grant, and we've essentially been receiving funding from JAG and its predecessor programs for over 20 years. Thank you. And now I will turn it over to, who am I turning it over to? Let's see. Ken Lee, am I turning it over to you?
Yes, sir.
Good. That was a good guess.
All right. Well, thank you, Mayor Wheeler, and good morning, Mayor Wheeler, Commissioner Hardesty, Commissioner Daly, Commissioner Fritz, and Commissioner Ryan. My name is Ken Lee. I am the Business Services Manager at the Portland Police Bureau. I am joined today by Assistant Chief of Services, Mike Frome, and also Acting Captain Greg Stewart of the Training Division. To get started, I wanted to share a brief presentation with you, just kind of get you calibrated a little bit more on this application, and then have Captain Stewart talk a little bit more in detail what we intend to do with the limited term position. So I will go ahead and share my screen here.
Before you move on, there's two questions that I'll tackle while you're doing that. First, Commissioner Hardesty, then Commissioner Daly.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I could wait till after the presentation because maybe the presentation will answer my question. I want to appreciate Ken Lee. They did brief me on this measure, but since then I read the details that are in our council packet. And I guess I can wait until they're done to ask the question that came up from that.
All righty. Just go ahead and leave your hand raised and that'll remind me. Commissioner Daly?
I can also wait. I didn't know that there'd be a presentation and I just have a few follow-up questions.
All right. Sounds good. Go ahead and just leave your hand raised.
Okay, appreciate that. We'll get started. And can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So this is just to give you a briefing on the JAG 2020. I know I have not had the opportunity to give Commissioner Ryan the briefing himself. So this will be that briefing for you. So basically what I'd like to quickly run through is the JAG definition, or the Justice Assistant Grant definition, the application and programming, and then what we're considering as far as the delivery and outcomes. So what is the JAG? It's the fiscal year 2020 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, which is JAG. It's a program local formula solicitation. The JAG grant program, instituted by the DOJ in 2005, directs funding to local law enforcement agencies to assist in their efforts to prevent or reduce crime and violence. What can it be used for? In general, JAG funds awarded to a unit of local government under this fiscal year 2020 solicitation may be used to provide additional personnel, equipment, supplies, contractual support training, technical assistance, and information systems for criminal justice. The application, and Mayor Wheeler, I apologize, I think you had a little bit of a typo, but the total amount is $408,910. The actual allocations itself that you read off are correct, but it's $408,910. It's allocated to 3 entities based on a statutory formula provided by the Bureau of Justice Statistics. The Portland Police Bureau will receive $203,717. Multnomah County, $160,064, and Gresham Police Department, $45,129. And so with this funding, the Portland Police Bureau would like to hire a 1.0 full-time equivalent video production specialist for approximately 2 years for the training division. This will be a limited term position. Basically, the COVID-19 has kind of forced us to rethink and diversify how we deliver training. And online video training is one of those strategies that we are implementing. Additionally, fiscal responsibility has amplified the need to be kind of innovative and in terms of how we reduce costs. So by moving to online video training, there is expected to be personal backfill over time and instructive overtime cost savings over the next 2 years. Basically, what we're hoping for is that this position will pay for itself and save us the dollars as the spending tightens up a little bit over the next couple of years. Other prior years programming include a bicycle outreach program and computer and equipment for the various police units. With that, I'm going to shift this over to Acting Captain Greg Stewart to talk a little bit more about what these funds will be, what this limited term position will be delivering.
Thank you, Council and members of the community for your time. I'm Greg Stewart, Acting Captain of the Training Division. So this position, in addition to cost savings, we feel will help improve the overall quality of our training in the following ways. We've been working with our Training Advisory Council to find ways to increase community voice in police trainings. A significant barrier to that has been the nature of our in-service. We have to train approximately 900 people over a 5-month period. This generally takes 19 to 20 sessions. Having community members come either in groups to that many sessions is prohibitive. It asks too much of them. It results, because we cannot ask the same people to come all 19 times, it results in either reduced fidelity of the training where officers receive inconsistent messaging, or we put a lot of pressure on community members, which isn't fair to them. One of the experimental things we did last year was our Youth Educating Police project, where the Youth Educating Police program developed in conjunction with us, developed a video involving science behind the youth brain. We provided that video to officers before in-service and then delivered a supplemental scenario-based training at in-service. We found that to be a very effective way to both introduce community voice and then reinforce that voice using scenario-based training. This decreased demands on community members while simultaneously increasing the fidelity of the trainings we were providing. It also allows us to increase the amount of time spent on scenario-based trainings, which we can only deliver in our training facility. The model I like to base it on is the idea of a flipped classroom. For people who aren't familiar with a flipped classroom, in that educational format, your instruction is provided prior via an online, either videos or some sort of online format. And then when you show up at the class, you use the materials you learned in that video portion, but you're doing it with an instructor present. So for us, what we feel we can do is take the classroom portions of our in-service, deliver them at a less expensive but more effective format online, and then use their time at the training division to do things with instructors that require those instructors to be present. Again, we feel that'll save money and increase effectiveness. However, based on our past experiences of moving material online, the material itself has to be delivered in a relatively high quality. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but if we stick low quality trainings online, we've found that officers aren't as receptive to that and don't learn as much. And then when we bring them into the scenario-based training portions, we have to spend significantly more time retraining them. We lose both the educational benefits and the efficiency benefits. And this kind of gets to the final point is we believe that format will be a more effective use of our time overall. As we enter into a period where we anticipate prolonged budgetary issues, we feel that developing this online format more efficiently using our time will benefit both the community and the Bureau, as well as sort of the bottom line. Again, I really appreciate everybody's time on this. Does anybody have any questions for myself or Mr. Lee?
Yeah, there are 2 questions. First up was Commissioner Hardesty and then Commissioner Udaley.
Thank you, Mayor. You may want to stop sharing your screen so we can see each other. And so, as you know, what you say about the videotape makes perfect sense. But what doesn't make perfect sense to me is your budget. You're only going to have this video specialist for 3 months, and the bulk of these dollars are for sub grants. What are these sub grants for, and how are you going to? What's the story with the sub grants?
Okay, Commissioner Hardesty, thank you for the question. To answer your first question on the position itself, this is going to be a 2-year limited term video production specialist. The funding that we have does not start until we hire that position. And from the date of award of that grant, we have 3 years to spend those dollars. So basically, if you kind of look at a timeline, if we post a recruitment, it will take us roughly about 5 months or so to bring somebody on board. From there, we have 2 years. So it's well within that 3-year time frame that we have to spend on the JAG grant. Does that answer your first question?
Not quite. Let me see if I understand. And so the reason why the budget detail in year 1 says you're only going to spend $16,313 on this video specialist is because it's going to take you 9 months to get them hired, and then they're going to work for 3 months?
For the first fiscal year. Yeah, and so that's just a conservative number in terms of what we expect to spend for the first fiscal year of 2021.
And what do you expect to spend that $200,000 in sub grants for?
The sub grants, are you talking about the allocations to Multnomah County as well as City of Gresham?
Well, I don't know. I'm looking at your budget. I'm basing my question on what you have presented in this package.
So the remaining funding, so it looks like you're saying 16,000 is going to be for this fiscal year. Year 2, which would be fiscal year 21-22, that is where the bulk of the rest of the funds will be spent on that limited term position.
And so let me be clear. So you are not anticipating sending, other than the money that goes to the county DA's office and the money that goes to Gresham, you're not anticipating sending sub grants anywhere else?
That is correct. That is for, this is specifically for the limited term video production specialist.
And we don't have the details for year 2 and 3 because they're not reflected yet. Is that accurate?
That is, I will have to double check on that for you, but it should be there. If it's not there, I'll make sure we get that information to you.
Yes, I am. Yeah, I was, when you talked to me about this, I thought this is a great idea. It makes sense until I looked at the budget, and then the budget didn't make sense to me at all. Thank you very much for answering my questions. Yeah, that's very helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Daly.
I have 3 hopefully quick questions, and I'll just ask them all and you can address them how you see fit. So with Portland's designation as an anarchist jurisdiction, are we changing our approach with this grant application? If we don't receive the funding, how will the Bureau fund the work? And what does the DOJ statement mean for the Bureau's work and funding overall?
I'll allow Captain Greg Stewart to answer the first question there.
So we have not changed this. This proposal was written prior to that. And from our perspective, we've not made any changes due to that designation. To your second question about funding the work, from the training division's perspective, this position is integral to our transition to more online training. We need the expertise and we need the personnel to produce these videos. So without this position, it will be very difficult for us to deliver. We have a makeup training plan we've produced because between COVID-19 and the unrest, our current training cycle has been severely interrupted. We're going to count on producing online trainings is going to be an integral piece of correcting that deficiency. So without this position, it'll be very difficult for the training division to meet the demands of the coming year and keep us in alignment both with the Department of Justice settlement agreement, but also more broadly with the state mandates requiring, the state requires certain bulk hours of training, and then certain subcategories require a specific number of hours of training. I believe we will meet that regardless because we have to meet it. But certainly moving beyond that, and also I think more broadly, training our officers to the standard the citizens of Portland expect is going to be very difficult without this position. It'll be very difficult to do anything but the bare minimum without being able to make this transition to more online training.
So I guess the answer is that you'd be seeking additional funding, because the question was, how will you fund the work?
I would have to work with the chief's office on that, but yes, we need these positions.
And then if you can give us any insight on what the DOJ statement may mean for the Bureau's work and funding overall, that would be appreciated.
I'm sorry, which statement are you referring to? Just so
the designation of Portland as an anarchist jurisdiction and the suggestion that federal funds may be withheld as a result.
And I guess from my perspective, I am not responding to that. I mean, that's beyond the scope of what I deal with. This particular grant is it's a non-competitive grant that is awarded to all law enforcement. Should they take? I mean, I honestly don't know. This has not come up in my tenure, so it's kind of beyond my ken.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to apologize to Ken. Ken, you do have all the years in your document that you submitted to City Council, but the only one I saw was the first year, so that's the one that I was very concerned about. But I do see that you have the second and third year as well in this application. So it wasn't you, it was me.
Okay, great. Right? Thank you, Commissioner.
Very good. Carla, do we have any testimony on this item?
Yes, Mayor, we have 3 people signed up.
Very good.
The first person is Claire Campbell.
Hi, check. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. My name is Claire. Real quick, I need to tell a story about my arrest by the Portland Police Bureau in June. I had been out just photographing the protests for the first couple of weeks. My background is in photojournalism, so I had just been out shooting. And the night of the 21st, the event had been declared a civil disturbance. I couldn't leave the park soon enough, and I found myself caught in the police line unintentionally. Before I knew it, my tank top was being almost ripped off of me, and I tripped among 3 or 4 fully riot geared officers who all fell on me right when a flashbang grenade went off next to my head. So when the smoke cleared, I was pretty upset, and I chose not to cooperate by continuing to lie on the ground with my eyes closed. And just not saying anything. I was cuffed. I was picked up, put into the back of, I think it was a van. I was searched, clothed in front of 10 to 12 male and female officers, both Portland Police Bureau and the state troopers, in a procedure that was clearly meant to be humiliating, and it was. I stayed overnight in a cell with no concern over any meds that I might be missing, and I was taunted by officers when I did start asking about the procedure for being released. So when I came across agenda item 764, which is a request by the Portland Police Bureau for $400,000 to hire a video production specialist, a new DA, I think, for Multnomah County, which reads like someone who will be better able to prosecute low-level crimes. No, I think that's how it reads. And then the $45,000 to Gresham so they can buy 45 new handguns and 5 new rifles. So I looked up the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, and it also defines mental health programs and related law enforcement and corrections programs, including behavioral programs and crisis intervention teams. So I would like to request that the city divest my tax dollars towards, for example, the Multnomah County Crisis Line, which was utilized by one of my colleagues recently because her adopted daughter, who was adopted out of Oregon's foster care system, was having a need for assistance. And she waited on the crisis line for 40 minutes with both her personal phone and her work phone, only to be told by the operator that 911 was going to be the method of
That's 3 minutes.
So please, I and my tax dollars do not consent for this application for these funds. Please divest. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire, for your perspective. Appreciate it. Next individual, please, Carla.
Is Katrina Lane.
Hi, can you hear me or see me?
Yep, you're good.
Oh, hi. Okay, so to me, honestly, I'm kind of nervous because I'm not really a public forum kind of speaker, and I'm not really a protester either. I am a civilian in Portland. I've been living here for 8 years. I moved from San Francisco, and I have moving from San Francisco, I definitely noticed the amount of white people that are here and the way that Black people are treated from the beginning. And I've been working a 40-hour job my entire life. It's just kind of what I've done because I wanted to survive. I wanted to sustain. But at the same time, my goal and my purpose in life is to help others. And the reason this has to do with the police bureau is I walked to the Portland Police Bureau because I've been watching every single town hall meeting with Ted Wheeler and the police chief. And every time they tell me, or they tell the public, if you have any ideas, come up to us, let us know, let us know what your plan is. Let us know how we can help the Black community. And as a white person, I want to help the Black community. And it's very frustrating that I can't get in contact with these people. So I talked to one of the cops that was in the car, and she basically said the operative word was to try to get into contact with these people. And that's kind of sad to me because I want to see a change, and I have created a business, and it's an LLC. It's for foster teens that are aging out of the system. It's so that they can they can learn necessary life skills and allow them to thrive in society. And everything that we've mentioned up to this point is substance abuse, mental health, incarceration, police brutality. This is what Portland is. We react to problems instead of trying to prevent the problem from happening. And I'm trying to prevent a problem from happening because 20% of the teens that age out of the foster care system become homeless. And then whose problem is that? It's the Portland Police Bureau. And then what happens to them? They get incarcerated. And then what are their incarceration rates? And it becomes this issue where it becomes an issue with redlining and lack of education. And everything starts with a lack of education. And I'm ready and I'm willing to do this, and I'm ready and I'm willing to create this business, and I'm here, and I just need the funding for it. And it is kind of ridiculous to me that we are granting more funding after we just defunded the police by $12 million so that we could put it back into the community. And now we're granting $408,000 back into them. It sounds like if we have a city town hall meeting twice a week for the next 12 weeks, then we're going to be able to refund the police back the $12 million that they're going to want, that we have defunded them from. And that's how I feel, because right now we're refunding the police, and what we need is education reform. And I don't know if you guys have seen Inside Woodlawn, but Inside Woodlawn is the reaction of what has happened because of the low-income communities. And I don't know if you've been inside a house in Woodlawn, but I started working for Taking Ownership PDX with this friend named Randall. I call him a friend now because that's how it is.
3 minutes.
but he started taking ownership and is basically working to revive and renovate Black-owned homes. And I don't think the community members should fund that. I think the government should be funding us. And I think the government should be listening to people and should be actually setting up meetings. And Ted Wheeler, if you're listening, I'm here and I'm ready to set up a meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, Karen, Katrina, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm here. I've heard you, and I appreciate your perspective. Let me just say this. I agree with the premise of what you just said. You said something really important, and I want to underscore that I agree with you, that by the time somebody picks up the phone and calls 911 and a police officer is dispatched to deal with any of the issues that you described, other systems have already completely failed the individuals in question.
Exactly.
And that can be the mental health system, which you will come to find out if you have not already, is very fragile in the state of Oregon, and it's been fragile for decades. It could be the lack of substance abuse treatment in our community, and I'm proud that this city council stepped forward even during this really, really tough budget process, and we directly funded a substance abuse treatment center, a nonprofit substance abuse treatment center, something we don't usually do, but we didn't want to lose, we were potentially at risk of losing 120 treatment beds in our community, and none of us could stand that idea. So we stepped forward on a stopgap basis. We funded that. There will be some times when things look like they're backwards. As you pointed out, it seems inconsistent that the council took a decision to defund certain portions of the police bureau so that we could return dollars to the community. And here we are supporting a grant. The way I would justify this, and the reason I do believe it's a justifiable grant that we should accept, is one of the things community is asking for, and this is separate from the question of complete abolition, is the question of improving policing. And I personally fundamentally believe that training is critical to that. And what I've heard the Bureau say in justification for this grant is during a time of COVID, and we could be under physical distancing for some period of time, we don't really know, the quality of training is really dependent upon the quality of resources that are available online. And we do de-escalation training on a regular basis. We do implicit bias training. We do other types of training per the directives of the Portland Police Bureau. And I see investments in training as actually being something really positive in terms of changing the way that policing is done in our community. So I just want to acknowledge what you said. By the way, you are a very good public speaker and you were powerful in your statement. And we'll look forward to seeing you back. And I wish you the very best of luck with your business, with your nonprofit. Commissioner Udaley, did you have your hand up? Commissioner Hardesty, did you have your hand up? Yeah, Commissioner Hardesty.
Thank you, Mayor. You actually said most of the things I was going to say. I want to reiterate, Katrina, you are a strong advocate for kids aging out of the foster care system. I want you to know that this is not the city's money. This is money coming from the federal government. And I am supporting it because it is to produce video training tools that I expect will include community and police actually providing that training for the new kind of policing we want to see in the city of Portland. I also want to let you know, Katrina, I reached out to the DA because as you can see in the board package, I was concerned that we were going to be funding low-level prosecutions. You may know we have a reformist DA who I'm in love with, and I'm proud to say that in public. And he is committed to having a district attorney's office that is really prioritizing real crime and not prosecuting people for the crime of being houseless. And so I want you to know that our new DA, Mike Smith, is committed to using these funds in a way that's radically different than his predecessor did. Otherwise, I would not be supporting this. And so I want you to know that we have looked at this with a fine-tooth comb, and this is actually helping us get in the direction and get in the focus that we all say we want to go. And so, Katrina, you can hold us accountable to that statement. And I'm absolutely convinced that this grant, because it's not city money and we have very limited city money, is going to help us both short term and long term. But I greatly appreciate you showing up, and you are a powerful voice. So don't ever start a presentation with "I'm not a public speaker," because guess what? You are.
Thank you. Carla, do we have other people signed up for public testimony on this item?
We have one more, Edith Gillis.
Hi, Edith. Edith, are you still muted? I can't hear you. Carla, she's still muted.
Looks like she's on a computer, so she probably needs to unmute herself. Edith, are you there?
I did unmute it several times.
Okay.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah, it's sticky sometimes. Hey, Edith.
Again, please make sure that you have information to the public and to this council members further in advance with more detail and accountability. It's very disturbing to have all this money be going for training when we have found across the nation that training does not stop police brutality, racism, sexism, corruption, and perjury. And that training has not stopped their murders. The training has not stopped the Portland Police Bureau from committing violent crimes every night against people who are trying to bring about the changes and stop the crimes that the police are committing. We already have high quality training on video available to address the issues that the Portland police need to have changed. It's not training on how to use guns or how to cheat people or how to, to lie and to plant evidence that we need training on. We need training for the police to have emotional self-regulation, self-awareness, de-escalation, empathy, conflict resolution, recognizing and dealing with PTSD in themselves and in others, cultural sensitivity, not being so racist, classist. They need to learn ASL. They need to know how to interact with folks in a mental health crisis. They need to deal with their own addictions and their own domestic violence. They need to have training on and support for them stopping their own domestic violence they commit to their own family members, and to intervene, to provide immediate health care. We need to have them at least have a wilderness first responders training, a mandatory that they intervene as opposed to cause harm and then leave someone to die. We need to have the police training on public relations. They know how to do it going out to rich white neighborhoods and doing the little promo, but they need to be able to listen to folks. And that kind of training is already available through the Oregon Home Care Commission, a variety of skills that is already available through other public agencies dealing with people with mental health crises. It's already available through the YWCA, social justice, domestic violence, and multicultural education. We have excellent training already available. We need to make sure the police are having that. And also, I don't buy into, and I'm very offended as an educator, someone who's starting to have a master's degree decades ago on educational media. And that is, if someone wants to learn something, they will learn it. And it doesn't matter how tacky or how splitsy it is. If I want to learn something, I'm going to learn it. And how dare we keep on the force anyone who's supposed to be serving the public and protecting the public saying, well, I'm not going to learn something if it's not a fancy updated, computer game that's a high quality that I want. No, if I want to learn something, I'm going to learn it regardless. I'm going to have the right attitude, and no kind of training is going to really change my attitude, my character, or my motivation for being in the police force. That is what we need to deal with. That's what's going to make the difference. It's not the high quality of a videographer, and with this, you're having no accountability for
That's 3 minutes.
Trained how, and I want to make sure that you're saying that with this money, when we authorize it, this grant application, that we also have community members who have oversight and that are also being able to see and get the same training.
All right, thank you, Edith. Colleagues, any further questions before I move this one along? This is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. It moves to second reading. Carla, the next item is 765, second reading.
Amend property tax exemption for multiple unit housing development code and inclusionary housing code to extend the current inclusion rate until 2021.
Colleagues, any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, Carla, please call the roll.
Hardesty,
Aye.
Udaly,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. Next item, 766, also a second reading.
Authorize, approve, and direct various actions by Prosper Portland, the Portland Housing Bureau, Portland Bureau of Environmental Services, Portland Water Bureau, Portland Parks and Recreation, Portland Bureau of Transportation, and the Office of Management and Finance to facilitate the development of the Broadway Corridor and add the Broadway Corridor Park project to the Parks and Recreation System Development Charge Capital Improvement Plan.
Colleagues, this is a second reading. Any further discussion? Carla, please call the roll.
Hardesty,
Aye.
Udaly,
I want to applaud this historic accomplishment in anti-displacement conversations, community benefits agreements. Are we in 765 or 766?
We are on 766. You're on the right one.
Okay, thank you. All of a sudden, all right.
Order.
In anti-displacement conversations, community benefit agreements are consistently brought up as a key component to preventing displacement and ensuring that new development benefits the community, which is already there. Thanks to the sustained advocacy of the Healthy Communities Coalition, we are seeing the first true community benefits agreement in Portland's history. What that means is affordable and accessible housing, living wage jobs, family benefits for workers, and environmental stewardship. Most importantly, this agreement was negotiated with community and is legally binding. This has never been done before in Portland and shows that crafting true community benefit agreements is possible. We have set a gold standard for responsible development and are setting a necessarily high bar for future CBAs. This agreement and this project represent the future of Portland, and I'm proud of what we've been able to accomplish with the help of our partners. I want to thank the team at Prosper Portland. Director Branham, thank you for continuing to rise to the challenge of showing that Prosper is meaningfully different from its predecessor, the Portland Development Commission. And of course, a heartfelt thank you to the Healthy Communities Coalition, in particular, Vivian Satterfield, who has communicated regularly with our office as negotiations developed. You have created a magnificent achievement that will benefit not just the Portlanders impacted by the Broadway corridor, but all community members who benefit from future CBAs. I vote aye.
Fritz.
I associate myself with those eloquent comments and absolutely agree. This has been a hugely complicated project going back a decade or more. And so thank you to everybody who's worked on it over the years and for everybody who's been able to get to this very historic agreement. I will note that although this is a binding agreement, it also does not bind the council to some of the financial commitments which were discussed last week, such as the general fund contribution to future operations of Prosper Portland. Although, of course, I know that you will all be continuing to be committed to honor the financial commitments that have been made and to make sure that the funding is available. So that is still an open question. There's also other things that will continue to be worked on. There was a concern over the lack of involvement of the Disability Rights Oregon and other disability advocates in the discussions to date. The negotiations have been extremely challenging, and this agreement has been difficult to reach. I do believe that disability advocates need to be more meaningfully engaged moving forward, and that will this has often happened, and we've noticed it particularly. At least I've noticed it even more so as the COVID-19 responses come out, and as we realize where we haven't centered the most vulnerable communities. And although there has been a lot of centering of vulnerable communities in this process, disability communities haven't been involved as much as I would like to see them. And so this is the Broadway Corridor Plan is a living process with many opportunities for additions and adjustments moving forward, building on this great foundation. And the Office of Equity and Human Rights will be looking at how to make sure that we are including people with disabilities right from the start and at every step of every process that the city does. That's part of our equity and inclusion responsibility. It's part of our legal requirements. And I know that people at Prosper, people at the Housing Bureau, transportation staff, everybody will be able to make sure that everybody continues to be involved. This is going to be a great project, and I look forward to seeing it built out. Aye.
Ryan?
Yes, thank you. I want to acknowledge Director Branham. I've witnessed her inclusive leadership for some time, and it was demonstrated in last week's presentation to the council. I want to also acknowledge the foundation that was set in that benefits agreement. And what I've learned is that adhering to that during implementation is going to be messy and challenging. And we look forward to the transparency and dialogue throughout that. And Commissioner Fritz brought up one point that I know you're working on right now when it comes to disability advocates' concerns. So I'm thrilled at this moment to vote aye.
Wheeler.
This is a project that started long before I took office, and I've had the privilege to help lead this project for the last 4 years. And I'm also cognizant of the fact that I may not even live long enough to see the final stages of this project. So this is one that's going to span several councils, several mayors, several community board members' engagement, but it really is a proud moment. And it's been one of the most interesting things I've had to work on for 4 years. It's certainly one of the most complex and ambitious development projects the city of Portland has ever undertaken in its history. And the team led by Prosper Portland and by the Portland Housing Bureau, they've worked with an array of public and private, nonprofit, neighborhood, and community partners to address a staggering number of key decisions. This team has led with equity and with collaboration. And while there's a lot of work that remains in the years ahead, I'm so proud of our accomplishments today. With persistence, collaboration, leadership, clear communication, and an insistence on putting community priorities front and center, the city acquired the site. We created a full active steering committee to guide the development process. We spent 18 months collecting public input and feedback. We selected a private development partner, Continuum, and Mark Falcone. It's good to see you here today. We selected a developer with a clear commitment necessary to develop a project of this size and of this scope and with the values that we wanted to put front and center. We created a master plan that includes large-scale green development, affordable housing, critical, new, iconic open space, and bicycle and pedestrian needs, including a major portion of the visionary Green Loop. We negotiated a community benefits agreement, a feat never accomplished on a public-private project of this size, and one that I hope is now a blueprint for future developments. This project is definitely going to change the landscape of our West Side. It'll bring affordable homes and jobs to Portlanders. It'll give everyone new places for recreation and for time outdoors. And by raising the bar on the community benefits, it'll ensure that the economic opportunities are shared amongst all of us who call ourselves Portlanders. I know that city leadership, Kimberly, our bureau directors and council will continue to prioritize inclusion, shared prosperity, and community leadership as this project moves forward. I want to thank you all for the hard work that got us here, the hard work that has yet to come, and your service to the community. Thanks to you all. I vote aye. The ordinance is adopted. And Commissioner Fritz, I am due at the Pacific Coast Collaborative in just a couple of minutes. So if you don't mind, and I realize this is a little bit spur of the moment, could I turn over 767 and 768 to you, please?
Absolutely. If you just give me a moment, or Carla, if you can read the title very slowly so I can get ready to do that, that would be very helpful.
And so I'm going to log off. Carla, again, Godspeed. I wish you the very, very best. You're a fantastic, wonderful person. And as was said earlier, you are the truest of public servants. Thank you for setting the bar so high. Thank you for your thoughtful leadership. And most importantly of all, thank you for just being a really good person. I will miss you. I'll miss working with you. Thank you for all you've done.
Thank you, Mayor.
See you later.
767, amend contract with Innovazi, Inc. for hydraulic network analysis software in the amount of $756,473.
Thank you, Carla. That was just the right time that I needed. Colleagues, Shannon Reynolds, the engineering manager with the Risk Assessment Division within the Integrated Planning Group of the Bureau of Environmental Services, is here to present on this item today. Shannon?
Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Can everybody hear me? I want to make sure I'm unmuted. Good morning to the rest of the council, and I appreciate the opportunity to sit in front of you and present this ordinance. So I'd just like to start off with a little bit of context and overview that BES has been researching new options for software to simulate our hydrology and our pipe network since approximately 2016. BES has been using this type of software to plan and design collection system projects since the 1970s, and it was used as a big example to on the largest public works project at the time, the CSO facilities, big pipe, and plant expansion project that was completed in 2012. And also I'll just mention that the software was used to identify risk that resulted in agenda item 762, the Goose Hollow Rehabilitation Project. So kind of connecting the dots there a little bit for everyone. Over time, BES has developed processes and programs to prepare data to feed the software. These processes and programs are proprietary to our internal knowledge group and maintained by BES staff. At this point, we are facing a significant succession planning liability in terms of maintaining these processes for a couple of reasons. Number one, the experts are facing retirement, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to find employees to replace them given their extensive institutional knowledge. At the same time, the modeling software is limited, and the current modeling software that we use is limited in its ability to meet the expanding needs of the Bureau moving forward. So acquisition of this new software will ensure that the hydrologic and hydraulic tools can continue to support planning, design, and operations and maintenance of BES assets, which are valued at more than $13 billion. In terms of reducing, it will allow us to continue to identify each element of our drainage and collection system that will then allow us to define sources of risk and identify problems within the system, and then help us develop cost-effective and robust solutions to those issues. In terms of reducing liability, BES would like to shift its expenditures towards vendors who can work on software updates and processes full-time, which would reduce the liability of putting this maintenance burden on personnel who have other additional work priorities. Making this transition now will allow us to limit the liability of losing the institutional knowledge of staff who maintain the existing system and leverages their expertise to help in the transition. Having vendors support continued updates on software tools frees up personnel to focus on the important work of problem and risk identification and solution development instead of maintaining the tools and associated business processes. Additionally, software technology has advanced enough to provide new processes to optimize our solutions to inform strategic investment decisions. The acquisition allows for us to be more agile so that when we see a need to make improvements to our business processes, we have a pathway to get those changes considered and made in a timely manner, which is not something we can do very easily right now. So our objectives really were to identify what software would provide us that robust capability base and yet meet the needs of our special system that Portland has in terms of our combined sanitary and stormwater systems that we use to convey our stormwater. And so based on our years of research, we determined the software that best matches BES needs is Innovyze's InfoWorks ICM, a product that is used worldwide for complex combined sewer systems such as Portland's. This software must be able to perform analysis on our particular system. Other products that we did not select do not use the highly advanced equations that are needed for the particulars of our combined sewer system, which affords us the ability to model Portland's sewer system and specific special backwater conditions caused by a filled up system. So once the tunnels fill up, they tend to back up into the other parts of the system, and we need to be able to model that to identify risks associated with that effect. InfoWorks ICM provides this advanced simulation capability as well as allows us to expand our ability to perform more robust analyses being required of us into the future. So the budget overview is that during the negotiations and the research, we were able to receive an offer to purchase the licenses upfront at a cost of $656,000, $473, for a savings of more than $200,000. That's above that's in comparison to an alternative purchasing situation framework where we would buy licenses every year to kind of get up to our threshold need of number of licenses. So if we buy them up front, we get this substantial discount. The offer is only valid until September 30th, which is why we're here as an emergency ordinance to try to meet that timeline, as well as there's an existing contract with the vendor, with Innovyze at the Portland Water Bureau carries. And so we are partnering with them to amend this contract to allow for a more timely and efficient, hopefully approval of the acquisition. The amendment includes $100,000 for the Portland Water Bureau to acquire additional software licenses and increase their maintenance support. So the total amended contract value will be increased to just under $1.6 million. The contract end date will not change. It will stay May 2024. And this allows for a good opportunity for the Water Bureau and BES to have their hydrologic and hydraulic analysis software be jointly managed under one contract. And with that, I'll answer any questions that council might have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Commissioner Hardesty.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is about the continuing amendments to this contract. This contract started in 2014 for $326,000. This is the third financial amendment to this contract that now takes it to $1,598,265. I am not a fan of continuing to extend contracts, and I want to know why we have not actually either negotiated a new contract and why we continue to extend this contract that started at $326,000. So that's one question. And then the second question is, if we had $1.5 million would we have had other additional vendors that would have applied for that original contract?
So I can't speak to the first question, and I have others who probably could that have joined me, but I can respond to your second question, Commissioner Hardesty, which is that this software is a niche software. I mentioned our sewer system is very special. It's a unique sewer system. It's a combined sewer system. And therefore, there's not many software technologies that are out there that are competitive. It's not a mass market type of industry. And so there are only a handful, if any, of technologies that would be able to provide the type of, like I said, specialized equations and modeling tools that would actually apply in our situation. It's one reason why we had proprietary business processes and programs developed in-house before this technology was available, because it just is a very niche software. So it's unlikely that there would be any other a mass market type of vendor competition that would allow for us to choose in that way.
And I would like to add to that, thank you, Shannon, that the software works. So we've had a history of software not working in the city. So having found one that does. Shannon, could you put the slide back up that shows, this is actually doing all of the planned annual events or annual renewals at one time. So put the slide back up that shows that if we do this and pay up front, we save ratepayers $200,000. And this offer is only valid until September 30th, which is why this is an emergency ordinance. So it's just doing the annual renewals, which we would otherwise be doing, and by paying for the licenses up front and getting the support from the company that knows how to do it, we save $200,000.
That's correct. So this $656,473 includes the maintenance support as well. So it's not just the purchase of the licenses, but it's also including the maintenance support over the course of 5 years. So, and to answer Commissioner Hardesty, I think the first part of your question may be better answered by Portland Water Bureau representative or James Mooring, who's a procurement specialist for the contract. If I could ask them to maybe speak up to answer that question, the first part of your question.
Happily, thank you, Shannon. My name is James Mooring. I'm the city's procurement analyst specializing in technology. I was the procurement specialist who solicited for this contract originally, and I also wrote the contract itself. Commissioner Hardesty, in answer to your question, a clarification, this contract is not being extended at this time. So that's the second to last bullet. The contract's end date is May 2024. That's its maximum term too, because this contract was originally written with a 10-year limit. So there's no further extension being made to this contract at this time.
Yes, but again, my question was really about a contract that starts at $326,000, and now the contract is at $1,598,000. If I'm a member of the public and all I know is that we are making changes to a contract that started at $326,000, and we have not gone out for a rebid, but now that same contract is at $1,500,000. What would your response be to that question?
Happily. Thank you. That's a perfectly legitimate question. What I would point back to is the not to exceed value of the contract. When we first solicited for this contract, as you stated accurately, it was $300,000. That was for the first 5 years. By city charter, we could not write a contract for longer than 5 years. $300,000 was the 5-year total. We are now out at the 10-year mark. We extended it out for another 5 years. We added another $300,000 or so then. That was for ongoing costs, 300 so for the first 5 years, another 300 for the next.
I'm sorry, that was actually $515,795 that was added the last time we added money to this contract.
And how many years was that for?
That was in 2019.
2019? Okay. So we were doing more than we were probably doing. Yeah, that was the next 5 years. But also remember, costs increase over time, and usage of it probably also increased. So that's how you can get some of those discrepancies. The next 5 years, particularly if we're adding on additional modules and functionality, it can have additional costs that were contemplated, but might have only been optional at the time that we were soliciting for them. So we said, hey, we're thinking about this, but we may or may not be doing it. So when we first write the contract, we leave ourselves that option, but we may or may not exercise it at that point. Just as an example. Then again, so we added that other $500,000, and now we're adding a whole nother bureau, which it would make sense that if you have about 300 to 600 for one bureau, you would need about the same amount for another bureau, which is also similarly massive. At this point, I mean, if we take a look at the quoted amount, if we add 200,000 to 656, they wind up being about the same as the 300,000 initial and 500 additional for the next 5 years. They both wind up being about $800,000 worth of stuff.
I'm sorry, I actually disagree with that because the current contract now is at $841,792, and
Yes.
you're asking us to almost double this contract. So that is not that is significantly different.
It is significantly different, but we're adding an entire other bureau. This was for one bureau, now it's for two. It should double.
I just want to point out too that this software is needed. And so if we don't transition to this software, we will have to acquire the licenses somehow. And so if we're not able to meet this offer constraint, it will cost us at least $200,000 more to acquire these softwares, whatever contracting mechanism we go through. And so, as James pointed out, it likely will be in the range of over $800,000, close to $900,000 just for BES's software needs over the next 5 years.
And so what do you anticipate doing between now and May of 2024 different, or if anything?
Well, so it will require a huge, I guess I'm a little unclear on the question. The transition.
This contract expires May 2024 as you're presenting it today. We haven't extended the timeline. Are you going to put forth another extension? Are you planning to actually do another request for proposal? What is the process to get from where we are now to the next step?
We haven't yet discussed that. I think what we would probably do is coordinate with our sister bureau, the Water Bureau, to see what the best options are for saving money, and if it makes sense for us to continue to be jointly managed under one contract for this software. I think that's a discussion that we'll have over the next year or so to make sure that we're being prudent with our selections going forward.
So thank you both. I appreciate you answering my questions. And for me, any contract that continues to double without any communication with council bothers me. The fact that that this is an emergency because a deal was made, except nobody talked to the commissioners that actually needed to vote for it. It troubles me as well, right? I mean, I think that I would just expect to be briefed in advance about what the options are that the city council has, rather than be confronted with a proposal that says, vote for it now as an emergency, or we missed the opportunity to save money. I am not going to be able to support this today, and I've already let the council president know, because I don't like contracts that double and triple without any kind of analysis about why that happened. So that's just my perspective. Thank you.
So, Commissioner Hardesty, I just remind you that emergency ordinances need everybody present to vote. So if we were to move this to next week so that Mayor Wheeler would be back and he was the commissioner in charge when this was brought forward, would you be willing to absent yourself at that point so that it can go forward?
I would absolutely be ready to go to the restroom or go get coffee. Yes.
Thank you so much. So that's what we'll do. We'll move it to next week, and Keelan will be the acting council clerk at that point, and we'll try to put it at a convenient spot that you might just need to take a walk, Commissioner Hardesty. Thank you to staff. I just want to add, we're talking about software here. I've only been on the council for 12 years, but I've been through multiple software problems of systems that took an enormous amount of time to set up, that didn't work properly. On other contracts, I might agree with you, Commissioner Hardesty. To have a software company that's doing appropriate maintenance and service and works and is offering us a deal to save $200,000 over the expected life of the contract, I believe it is in the best interest of ratepayers. And I recognize that we have a respectful disagreement, and I appreciate your willingness to let this go next week. Thank you. And thank you to staff.
If I may just also add one more thing, that this software supports $13 billion worth of risk assessment on assets. So this is a very, very important software for our bureau, and it's quite important that we figure out how to transition away from what we're currently doing, which is not sustainable. So I'll just add that last bit.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
It sounds like it's probably the exact right decision to make at the right time, right? But we have to make sure that we're able to be transparent enough so that not only the commission but the public understands why we're making the decisions that we're making.
Duly noted. Thank you so much, and thank you, staff. We'll vote on this next week, which will be just in the nick of time to be able to get in by the September 30th deadline. So we'll move it to next week. Carla, please read the next item.
Item 768, authorize a competitive solicitation and contract with the lowest responsible bidder and provide payment for construction of the Balch Creek Trash Rack Retrofit Project number E10583 for an estimated cost of $3 million.
Thank you. And the commissioner in charge is now me. So I'm really excited to introduce this item. I've only just started delving into what the Bureau of Environmental Services does, and I'm already absolutely fascinated. So here to present on the item today are Joe Dvorak, the Bureau of Environmental Services Design Division Manager, and Chris Lasterominski, who can say the name properly when introducing themselves to present on the project.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Good morning, commissioners. For the record, my name is Joe Dvorak with the Bureau of Environmental Services. BES is pleased to be here this morning talking about this project. It's a culmination of a lot of hard work from both the project team and various agency partners. As you'll see in the slides, from an engineering and operations perspective, the scale and importance of this facility are significant. We're excited that it's getting a much needed retrofit. Chris Lasterominski has prepared a brief presentation now with more details. So I'll turn it over to Chris, and then we also are here to answer any questions you may have. Chris?
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, commissioners. For the record, my name is Christopher Lasterominski. I'm the project manager for the Balch Creek Trash Rack Retrofit Project. Next slide, please. Balch Creek Trash Rack is located in Northwest Portland in Lower Maclay Park, which is at the Northwest 30th and Northwest Upshur intersection. Balch Creek flows freely downstream to the trash rack where it enters a storm sewer pipe and is carried north under the Northwest Industrial Park to the Willamette River. Next slide, please. Balch Creek Trash Rack traps large debris from entering the storm sewer pipe that conveys Balch Creek to the Willamette River. The trash rack and components have exceeded their design life and are structurally degraded and the system needs to be rebuilt. Pardon me. The trash rack has undergone a series of major repairs and reconstruction since it was first built in 1921. The last major reconstruction occurred in 1972 with the upsizing of a storm sewer pipe from 66-inch diameter to an 84-inch diameter, and the addition of a secondary screen rack. This project will reconstruct the trash rack components and bring them up to current design standards. The photo shown here is the main trash rack at the entrance to the storm sewer pipe. Next slide, please. Since 1951, the main trash rack and its complementary components have been successfully capturing the debris coming out of Balch Creek watershed, but the structure has exceeded design life and is decaying and falling apart. This project will rebuild the structures with modern materials and design standards using steel to replace existing pressure-treated and creosote-soaked timber, rebuild a failing retaining wall that protects the park, and improve maintenance access to the facility by incorporating debris cleanout pads, and maintain and improve pedestrian ADA access to the park and trail. Next slide, please. The project will replace an I-beam pre-rack structure at the uppermost limit of the project, as shown in the lower right portion of the screen. It'll replace an upper screen rack, a lower screen rack, a main trash rack, and the retaining wall. And it will add maintenance debris pads to aid in cleaning out the facility. Next slide, please. The pre-rack is the furthest upstream structure. It's a series of I-beams spanning the stream channel and designed to capture the largest objects like trees and boulders. Next slide. Downstream from the pre-rack is the upper screen rack. This component was added in 1972 to aid in debris capture. Next slide. Downstream from the upper screen rack is the middle screen rack. The screen racks are designed to capture as much debris while allowing the creek to pass through the main rack. Pardon me. Next slide. The main trash rack is the last line of defense to trap debris from entering the storm sewer pipe. The system is designed to protect the downstream residents and the Northwest Industrial Park from flooding and has done an effective job since the 1950s. Next slide. The rubble retaining wall was made of non-structural materials and such as concrete blocks and sidewalk fragments, and is failing in several areas. The retaining wall separates the trash rack and creek from the park. Next slide. Partnerships are with Portland Parks and Recreation and PBOT Structures and Bridges. Agency coordinations are with Department of State Lands, U.S. Corps of Engineers, and Bureau of Development Services. Next slide. Project construction budget is $3 million, and the project schedule to construct is January 2021 through November 2021. Next slide. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Commissioner Hardesty.
I'm sorry, Madam President, I didn't put my hand down. I have no question.
All right. Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Ryan? I know that Commissioner Udaley may have had to leave. No, you're right. There you are. Do you have questions, Commissioner Udaley? No. Okay. Then this is the first reading of a non-emergency item. Thank you, staff, for that very interesting presentation. It moves to second reading. Carla, that completes our business, right?
Correct. And no one signed up for testimony on that item.
Oh, thank you. I am rusty in the whole president of the council thing. So thank you, Carla. And once again, I mean, a lovely parting gift to keep me on track right at the end in your very last item. So thank you so much again. We wish you all the best as you retire. And thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.
Thank you.